colonialism, Africans were treated less than animals by the imperialists. We know what our people actually went through. For us that have carefully studied colonialism, imperialism in Africa, our people were treated, animals were even more better than local Africans. The way the white men were treating us. We don't want to talk about Philip Lopo that killed 15 million, 20 million Africans died during the transatlantic slave trade. What the Belgian authority did in Congo, what the British authority did in Kenya among the Kikuyu people and the Mamo people. We don't want to talk about that. But what I want to say is that during the peak of independence in Africa, in Nigeria, the aspiration of the people was high. The people were very, very optimistic of a better society, a better economy, a better country for themselves. So the African people were very optimistic of independence. Now independence came and the people got their political independence, and we were now governed by our own people. But the reality of the day, since we got independence, has made an average African man to be disappointed in his own country. For us in Nigeria, there is this simple slogan among the teeming youth. You hear Japa, Japa. The people are now desperate of leaving their own country because they are now living in their own country as if they were a refugee. This is the reality on ground in Africa. So what we are facing is a deliberate and intentional creation by the political ruling class. Those who took over from the colonialists, those who take over government when the imperialists left during independence. They completely failed their own people. Leadership in Africa has completely failed. And that is the reason why we are where we are. That is why per capita index in Africa is low. Low savings, low investment, no good society for the people because of poor leadership. And the people have completely lost faith, not just in governance, but in their own country. Because they are living as refugees. But we have hope. That's why I always said this, that I still believe in Africa. For us in African socialism, we believe in Africa. We encourage the youth to believe in Africa, that we can actually be great again. We can make it again, and we can come out great again. But we must take a drastic action. That's what I always tell people. For Africa to gain her pride, for Africa to come out of the state where she is today, for Africa to become a good place for her own people, there must be a drastic and a deliberate action. And that action must be taken by the teeming youth, because the old brigade has failed us. Those in power today across Africa are old brigade. You can see the man who is in power in Uganda, how many years he has stayed. You can see the man who is in power in Equatorial Guinea, how many years he has stayed. You can see the man who is in power in Cameroon, how many years he has stayed. You can see them. They have completely failed their own people. For us to get Africa right, there must be a deliberate action, a proactive action to take. And that must come through a change of mind and thought, and through what I call revolution. It may not actually be a revolution of the power of the barrel, but a revolution of action, that the people must sit down and say, yes, this is the type of society we want. We no longer want this to be done in our society. This is the type of leadership we need to produce. People must be held accountable. That is one thing that must move Africa forward. Accountability is not seen in Africa, so people do things have